Week United We Stand.
The American people they're not interested in the political drama, Eric. They want to know the truth.
Former Deputy National Press Secretary for the Democratic Party, Jose Aristimuño, joins me.
The left may try to corrupt law and order, but they certainly can't.
Plus, I'm talking with Erin Perrine, the Director of Press Communications for the Trump 2020 reelection campaign.
As schools reopen, whether they be elementary, junior high, high school, or colleges, that we should be expecting, unfortunately, another surge in cases.
And pandemic expert Dr. Dina Grayson is back. That and so much more right now on America This Week, United We Stand. Welcome to America This Week, United We Stand. I'm Eric Bolling. The 2020 election, get this, is less than 2 months away, and the campaign trail is heating up. Sinclair national correspondent James Rosen gives us a closer look.
President Trump wants you to be afraid if Democratic nominee Joe Biden gets elected.
I'm the only thing standing between the American dream and total anarchy, madness, and chaos.
Mr. Biden wants you to be afraid if the incumbent remains in office.
Trump's plan would wipe out Social Security, period.
The stoking of fear, usually through the conjuring of dire outcomes if the voter should make the quote-unquote wrong choice, has always been a staple of campaigning. John Geer is a dean at Vanderbilt University and author of In Defense of Negativity, Attack Ads in Presidential Campaigns.
There's no doubt there's already lots of fear being interjected into the campaign, and it's been going on for a while, and it's not new to American politics, but it certainly is at not a modern high, but maybe close to it at least.
President Lyndon Johnson's infamous Daisy ad, which aired only once during the 1964 campaign against Republican Barry Goldwater, equated a change in the White House with nuclear holocaust. In 1980, President Reagan exploited fears aroused by the seizure of American hostages in Iran and suggested a vote for incumbent Jimmy Carter would drive the nation into ruin.
I will not stand by and watch this great country destroy itself under mediocre leadership.
Andrew Rudalevich is a politics professor at Bowdoin College and co-editor of the Obama Presidency, Appraisals and Prospects.
What's intriguing maybe about 2020 is that you're seeing it on both sides. I think it will make it harder for whoever takes office in January 2021 to make the positive changes they need and that the country needs.
One fear that haunts the modern electorate, regardless of who is running, is a rerun of Bush v. Gore, the prospect that election night could fail to produce a clear winner, with the outcome to be litigated in the courts. A fear especially prevalent in this COVID election, in which balloting by mail will figure so prominently. Reporting for America This Week, United We Stand, James Rosen.
Let's get the facts straight, number one. I not only don't want to defund police, I want to add $300 billion to their $1 million to their budget, local budgets, to deal with community policing, to get police and communities back together again.
That was Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden saying that he doesn't want to defund the police. He wants to add to their budget. Joining now is former Deputy National Press Secretary for the Democratic Party and political commentator Jose Aristimuño. Jose, my friend, welcome back. How is Joe Biden trying to take the mantle of pro-law enforcement at this late stage of the game? The man is literally flipping the script.
Well, Eric, I wouldn't even necessarily say that he's flipping the script. I think he's defending himself first and foremost and setting the record straight. President Trump has used the power of his microphone to lie to the American people, saying that Democrats and saying that Joe Biden wants to defund the police when he actually wants to add money to their department, like he was just saying. So absolutely, he's not flipping the script. He's just telling the American people the truth.
Now, Jose, now. I mean, for the past 6 months since the rioting started and the COVID and everything's going on, he's never defended the police. He's always talked about moving money, don't call it what you want, moving money from police departments into other areas of, I guess, security. That's defunding the police department, is it not? Because I'm not sure I want a social worker showing up at the door when there's a domestic dispute and someone's holding a firearm.
Look, I understand that. I think that scenario that the Republicans, and many Republicans in this case, are trying to paint is just not true. Again, we're at the final stretch here of this election, Eric, or less than 70 days. He's got to go out there and tell the American people the truth, because eventually, if that some Americans might believe it, the lies that President Trump is saying day after day. So he's just setting up the record straight. I disagree with you that he's changing the script very last minute.
Jose, used to represent the Democratic Party officially, still a Democrat. Is Antifa bad?
Of course. Look, of course it's
Hold
bad.
on. Okay, Antifa's bad. I agree. They're creating a lot of mayhem and violence in the streets. If you go to Antifa.com, click it, it takes you to a Joe Biden donation site. Now, I'm not suggesting Biden set it up that way. He may have, I don't know, but he certainly hasn't taken it down in the last 6 days.
He did not. You know very well he did not. Look, you cannot control who supports who. There's many people that are ultra-right, the Republicans, they support President Trump, and they're as racist as they get. Does it mean that the Republican Party is a bunch of racists? No. Probably some of them, yes, but doesn't mean that the whole party...
No, I'm not talking about the party. I'm saying, should Joe Biden denounce Antifa? Because that question has been asked time and time again to Democrats. Nancy Pelosi, no one can say they denounce the group Antifa. You know why? Because there's likely some serious money behind Antifa that's coming from Democrat supporters.
I don't believe that. There's no evidence of that. I haven't seen those numbers. What I can tell you is that Joe Biden is going to win this election. What I can tell you is that the American people they're not interested in the political drama, Eric. They want to know the truth. Who out of these two candidates is going to help me with my economy, with my security, with my health?
Yeah, who is that?
Joe Biden, President Trump.
Biden's a Democrat, okay? I mean, let's just keep it real here for just a minute here. Biden's a Democrat. Democrat mayors across the country have their cities on fire. They're pushing back on their own police departments. I will never, to this day, forget the day when Bill de Blasio in New York City went to the funerals of two officers that were executed. They were murdered on the streets. De Blasio went there. The whole police department turned their back on the mayor. You know why? Because Democrat mayors don't protect their police departments. Democrats don't do that either. And he wants to be the head of the country. He's a Democrat. I think people are realizing that.
Let me just say one thing quickly. Today's America is Trump's America. He's the president of the United States. He's responsible for everything that's happened. He's responsible for the over 200,000 deaths of COVID-19. He's responsible for the over 5 million infections. It is his irresponsibility. The violence, the sickness, the death is this president's responsibility. He doesn't want to take responsibility. He doesn't want to admit it, because he's all into it about himself. He's not about the American people. He doesn't want to protect the American people. And I think that's why, come November, they're going to vote him out of office.
I got about 30 seconds or so. Jose, who do you think more law enforcement organizations are going to endorse, Trump or Biden?
Repeat the question, Eric. It broke up.
Which candidate do you think will get the most endorsements from law enforcement organizations, Trump or Biden?
I can't speak how many organizations are going to support who, but I can tell you that Biden has been very honest. At least he's been honest with them from day one. President Trump has been lying to them, manipulating the American people. They're trying to set him up like we don't care about the police. Just the same, and they do the same thing with immigrants, right? They say the Democrats want to open borders. They don't want a wall. All the criminals want to come into this country. That's just lies, right. Eric. Lies.
I got to go. We'll bring you back again, Jose. Always good to have Jose Aristimuño on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.
Ahead on America This Week, United We Stand. With the 2020 election coming up in less than 2 months, the campaigns are hitting the road. My discussion with the Director of Press Communications for the Trump campaign, Erin Perrine, is next.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time. We stand, America. United we stand. We stand, America. United we stand.
It's the week after the RNC. Let's talk the state of the race. Joining me now is the Director of Press Communications for the Trump campaign, Erin Perrine. Erin, thank you for joining us. News of the week, Nancy Pelosi decides to go get her hair done in a shuttered San Francisco hair salon. The owner himself came out and said that was a slap in the face to him. Your thoughts?
Well, Nancy Pelosi is, again, Nancy Antoinette. Do as I say, not as I do. She is acting like a tyrant. These businesses in California are being forced to shutter by the governor, except if you're Nancy Pelosi. It's a double standard, and it's the swampiest of the swamp. You see this video time and again of the speaker where she just thinks she's better than everybody. You remember back when the coronavirus started, she's sitting in front of her $30,000 refrigerators, eating her $13 pints of ice cream, tone deaf, being tone deaf. And yet again, here's another example. Maybe if Nancy was worried less about her highlights and more about the American people, she would get more done for the American people. She would actually step up and get more negotiations done. Now she's actually trying to put on the floor legalization of pot in the United States, again, instead of trying to make sure that the American businesses are taken care of and that people can afford to make their rent in this country as we still come back from the coronavirus.
My concern is the tone deafness of these politicians who say, keep your hair salons, your restaurants shuttered. Meanwhile, I believe she went in the back door, too. I don't think she went through the front door of that hair salon.
Well, that's right. I mean, she certainly... if she went in whatever way she got in, if she found an open window and snuck her way in there, she's not doing the right thing here. We need people who lead by example in this country. President Trump wants businesses to be able to open safely. He wants the country to get back to work. If Nancy Pelosi can go get her hair done at that hair salon she snuck into, then the American people can vote in person. Then she can get Congress back to do their jobs every day. It is so swampy and so disgusting to see that San Francisco elite swamp creature think she's better than every other American in the country.
And also this week we found out that the Philadelphia mayor, who has banned restaurants from opening in his own city, snuck across the border. There he is right there, snuck across the border, head over to Maryland and had a lunch, I believe it was a lunch, in a restaurant in Maryland. Meanwhile, his restaurants are shuttered and they're not happy, restaurant owners in their city.
Well, again, I mean, it's really disgusting to see how Democrats are playing politics. If you can go to a different state and eat a sandwich, you can certainly do it in your own state in a restaurant. There are ways, and the science backs it up, for these communities to begin to safely reopen. There's no reason schools shouldn't be reopening, restaurants, and all of these establishments, if they are following the CDC guidelines to make sure we're doing so safely. For them to try and keep everything shuttered is keeping people out of business. It's preventing moms and dads from getting back to work to be able to make a paycheck for their family, and for businesses to continue to operate to make their paychecks and give people the money they need to be able to live in this country. Democrats need to put politics aside, let science lead the way, and safely reopen instead of playing games.
So let's do that. And by the way, Governor Cuomo of New York is going to have a lawsuit on his hands. I believe there's somewhere around 300 or 400 restaurant owners that are suing the governor and the state for the same type of thing, open the restaurants. Erin, let's talk a little bit about what is this campaign about? Now, I know the left, the Biden camp wants to make it about COVID-19 and keeping, restaurants safe and saying it's Trump's fault. What is it about what is the election about for the Trump campaign? I would assume law and order, but now the left wants to corrupt that message as well.
The left may try to corrupt law and order, but they certainly can't. This is a campaign about safety and security, about the great American comeback. The only person who can bring back the booming Trump economy that we saw is President Trump. He knows how to get that done. Joe Biden, for 47 years, failed the American people. He certainly doesn't know how to do it. And as Joe Biden abdicates and attempts to pretend that he could be a leader in this country, we know he can't. He has refused to condemn Antifa. He has refused to condemn these riots. He has refused to condemn anarchy in our streets and would say he wouldn't put the National Guard forward to restore law and order. President Trump has been clear. Every day there's been any sort of upheaval in this country, just ask for the help. The federal government will send the resources. And he has been showing true American leadership. If America wants to continue to be the greatest nation on earth, it needs to not kneel to the far radical left like Joe Biden. It needs a strong leader like President Trump.
Erin, this week the Biden campaign released the number. They raised somewhere north of $300 million for the month of August. That's some substantial, it may have broken an all-time record. What do you attribute that substantial amount of money going into the campaign to? About 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's probably some big dollar checks they've been sitting on as they go into their general election fund. Listen, enthusiasm remains on President Trump's side. Voters are excited to see him. We made over 3 million voter contacts over the weekend. Joe Biden has no ground game. That money is just to try and put stuff on the air and put ads out there. It's not actually to talk to the American people the way we are on our campaign.
I'm going to leave it right there. Erin Perrine, always good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ahead on America This Week, United We Stand. You may be itching to take off that mask, but experts say it won't be safe to do so until we reach herd immunity. How close is America and how do we get there? That's next. And I want to thank all of you who donated to the Eric Chase Foundation this week. I'm a frontline warrior on the war on illegal opioids and drugs killing our kids at an alarming rate. We travel the country and soon the world exposing drug cartels and the billions of dollars they're making selling bad stuff to our kids. It costs a lot of money to bring a camera crew with me, and it's all on me to fund it. I do that willingly. I'm putting together expose films highlighting the massive and deadly epidemic of opioid and illegal drugs killing our kids in America. The Eric Chase Foundation is set up to go directly to the source and assist parents and kids who need help. If you want to be a part of this mission, donate to the Eric Chase Foundation so that more families can see the dangers of the cartels. As always, 100% of the proceeds go towards saving our most precious and our most vulnerable assets, our kids, from deadly overdoses. Go to ericchasefoundation.org now. Help save a life. Last week's top donor was James from North Carolina. Here's a signed copy of Wake Up America, James, on its way to you.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
We stand American strong.
City by city, state by state, town by town, stand American great. Everyone stands American strong. When strength by one equals strength by all.
American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
We stand American strong.
United we stand.
America This Week, America's fastest growing political show, points out how rough and tumble politics shape opinion in every region in our country. We tell American stories, stories that touch our people, determine our politics, focus on the future of America.
I'm Eric Bolling. Join me for a fascinating look at America This Week. According to experts, until we reach herd immunity, most of us won't be mask-free and safe from COVID-19. WKRC's medical reporter Liz Bonas takes a look at how close we are to reaching herd immunity and the best steps to achieve it.
Hey guys, hello to you. The path forward needs herd immunity. If we're going to stop the spread of this virus, herd immunity occurs when enough people become immune to a disease to make its spread unlikely. As a result, the entire community protected, even those who are not themselves immune.
Most experts will say somewhere around 80% is what's needed to really have a good, solid herd immunity.
So are we close?
If you look at the whole population of the United States, it's estimated less than 5% of the population has been infected with COVID-19 and has immunity.
That means then we have a long way to go, except perhaps in areas where there have been large outbreaks. The numbers there could be a whole lot different.
If you look at certain pockets where there's been a larger incidence of COVID-19, maybe certain areas around New York City, in Texas and Florida, they're closer because more people have caught the virus. They may be at 20, 30, 40. I don't know the statistics on those different states, but they are closer just because more of the population has had the virus so far.
So, there's been a couple schools of thought with this virus, like Switzerland was like, send the young people out, quicker deaths earlier, but maybe long term. Other people are like, no, we're going to let this go gradually, partly to protect the healthcare system.
Sure.
Where do you weigh in on that?
I'll give you a few numbers. If we want herd immunity to occur by just allowing the general population to get sick and build up their own immune system, it's not going to end well. In the United States, there's about 320 million people. If we need 80% of the population to have immunity, therefore have gotten infected, to have herd immunity, then that means 260 million people in the United States will have to catch the virus. If the mortality rate is 0.65%, you take that number by the 260 million people have to be infected, 1.7 million Americans will die from COVID-19 if we allow natural herd immunity.
Herd immunity is usually achieved through vaccination as well, which is also why there is a race to develop a vaccine for the coronavirus right now. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. We'll throw it back to you.
Thank you, Liz and WKRC, for that story. Students are returning to college for the fall semester, but at least 36 states have reported coronavirus outbreaks on their campuses so far. Here to discuss is pandemic expert, bring her back, Dr. Dina Grayson. Thanks for joining us. Doc, so obviously kids get back together. They don't take it as seriously as maybe adults. And I say kids, I mean young people in college. They party. We see pictures of parties, and there are outbreaks. Any shocker?
Oh, of course not, Eric. I mean, we talked about it on the program a couple of weeks ago. This is entirely predictable. We know that as schools reopen, whether they be elementary, junior high, high school, or colleges, that we should be expecting, unfortunately, another surge in cases. And we're seeing this already manifest itself in new cases creeping up now nationwide. After several days of decline, they're now creeping back up, and in particular here in Florida and in Texas. We're seeing another surge in cases, and then it's only a matter of time, sadly, before the death rate goes up.
Doc, another story that's been circulating recently, I think this is really, really important. I think this is almost one of those political footballs going back and forth. There was, and I can't recall who the study was, or there's some speculation, let's put it that way, that only 6% of the deaths that have been attributed to coronavirus, COVID-19, are actually caused by COVID-19. Most of them are comorbidities that are killing these people. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's complete nonsense. The people that have died, in fact, it's very likely that the true death toll is undercounted. The people that died from this disease, certainly they have comorbid conditions. They tend to be older. So, people have comorbid conditions, other things going on. But I think it's a fair bet to say, given that the United States has had 6 million plus cases and counting, that the death toll of 183 plus thousand, that's probably fairly accurate. And again, if anything, it's undercounting the true death toll, unfortunately.
And yet, Dr. Grayson, we haven't seen a move down in the average or the median age of people who are dying from COVID-19. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, still roughly 80 years old.
Yeah, the average age does tend to be older, Eric. That's right. And again, it takes, fortunately, younger people are less likely to die, but it doesn't mean that they don't die. As we know, unfortunately, we have seen children die from this illness, young adults. And also one thing to really keep in mind for everyone is that the death toll does not take into account some of these, sort of long haulers, as we call them. These are people that have long-term, potentially even lifetime complications from the illness, and that can occur at any age. So this is just not an illness that we want to take lightly. This is something that we should take very seriously.
And I don't mean to take this lightly. And I wholeheartedly believe this is one, let's call it a badass virus, if pardon the expression. But
I think it's a great way to put it.
But don't we lose somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 Americans every year to the flu?
Well, actually a little bit under that, Eric. And again, we have lost not even in flu season. Remember that this virus really hit our shores in full stride, starting really in sort of late February, early March, at the extreme tail end of last year's flu season. And here we sit with 183,000 plus dead Americans, and with the death toll rising at about 1,000 dead Americans each and every day. And now we're heading into flu season. So folks like me, I mean, we're reopening schools and in coronavirus hot zones. The last thing you really want to be doing. I think this is very concerning heading into this year's flu season, Eric.
Yeah, very concerning. I agree. I just meant to point out that this is bad. I think they're calling it twindemic, and we're calling it the pandemic of COVID, meeting up with the flu season coming up this fall. Dr. Dina Grayson, really appreciate your time again. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
Don't forget to set your DVR so you never miss an episode of America This Week, United We Stand. To find out when we air in your city, go to facebook.com/America Bowling, all one word. We have a complete list of cities at the top of the page. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you missed the show or want to rewatch an interview, you can catch them all right there.
United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand America.
United we stand.
We stand America.
United we stand. United we stand, we never fall. This perilous fight, it takes one and all. Everyone stands, American strong. Strength by one equals strength by all. American values, American pride. Your neighbor needs you, each person, each time.
We stand America.
United we stand.
We stand America.
United we stand.
Thanks for joining me for another fantastic episode of America This Week, United We Stand. As the summer of 2020 comes to a close and we swing into fall and the election season, remember to enjoy the little things that make us smile, like this dog swinging on a swing. Thanks to Colette Ellenberg for sending this video to one of our Sinclair stations via Chime In. Try it, do it, send it in. Have a great night, everybody.